I don't, right up front I'm going to tell you that this is equivalent to work. Transition and change is equivalent to work, right? So that said, you heard the Admiral say that we're going to have work plans, we're going to do things, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about how Sector Puget Sound is going to evolve and what goals we have as we move along the transition. First and foremost, those of you that know me know that collaboration is key, people are key, and readiness is key. So you would assume that somebody with those leadership mantra and a unit such as Sector Seattle that has that mantra would naturally do the transition using what tool? ICS. Mr. Wheeler wins today. Right? Doesn't that sound like an incident command system, good use? Train tool, work? So we're going to use ICS as our model. We're going to write and develop objectives, which I'm going to go through today. We're going to build strategies and tactics to do that, and we're going to implement a transition based on that. This will lead to work lists, tiger teams, and the evolution of a brand new sector. Much of the work includes what kind of things, do you think? Probably. What kind of stuff do we need to do? Right?
SOP.
Policy, right? Number one change for Sector Puget Sound is policy. A new standard operating procedure, a new organization manual, a new who is my supervisor and who's my supervisor list, phone number lists, who's who in the zoo lists, right? We got to re-ramp and revamp. Take what we did 3 years ago. If you haven't read it, well, you should read something before Sector Puget Sound, because all of those things are going to be rewritten. And if you haven't read what Sector Seattle's SOP is, shame on you, but if you haven't read it, you should, because part of the Tiger team is going to be you. And you have an opportunity, a very big opportunity, to map the future of Sector Puget Sound. Now, most people don't get that opportunity in an organization, so why wouldn't you grab it? These teams will involve and be collaborative, which means it needs all of our workforce represented, including our civilians and our auxiliarists, our reserves, and our active duty. So be prepared to volunteer or be volunteered. Special qualities. Our objectives, right? As the incident commander, what are the objectives, right? Very first, second page in an incident action plan talks to you about objectives. So I'm here to cover the objectives for you. They're up on the board. You can kind of read them. They're in big print. I don't know if the camera can catch them. Objective number one, establish 100% confidence in command and control capability 30 days prior to formal stand-up. We don't have a stand-up date yet. We have 2 stand-up dates because we're still negotiating the stand-up date. So I'll be very frank with you. I proposed 6 August. District said yes. And then a very, very smart lieutenant said, hey, that's Seafair Day. And I had made a large operational assumption that Seafair was always the end of July, so I hadn't even looked. And my mistake. So now I'm renegotiating with district. I'm hoping for 30 July as our new date. So don't know if it's going to be 6 August. We'll have fun that day if it's 6 August. Or if we can move it to 30 July, we'll do it right before Seafair. And why is it important to do 100% confidence in command and control? One of the major things that's going to happen is we will be taking all SAR calls. The Joint Harbor Operations Center will be taking all SAR calls for the entire AOR and the entire Puget Sound. Now, the VTS already has ears, eyes, and noses all the way out to the coast. And so the VTS is already there. But Rescue 21 went in 2 years ago, and Rescue 21, the way that we map the electronics, we have to change some of the electronics now so that we can control the towers that Port Angeles controls right now. We can hear them, but we can't control them. So there's some money that has to be involved in that. We have to do a little remodeling to the Joint Harbor Operations Center because we'll have two 24/7 comms watchstanders instead of just one. Because we'll have how many towers? Jayhawk?
11.
20? 21?
11.
11. What do we have now?
4.
4. So we're going to go from 4 towers to 11 towers for search and rescue and for law enforcement. So moving Rescue 21 capabilities, and then also there's some billets that have to move from Port Angeles to the sector. And we worked this week, in fact, to firm up which billets are moving from Port Angeles to Seattle. Some of the billets are changing. You can understand that. So from a command and control standpoint, a few of the billets are changing because of Sector Puget Sound. Some billets change because of the maritime and law enforcement change. So please don't get confused. Some billets change because of ME, and some billets change because of the sectorization. And actually, the changes are very slight for Sector Puget Sound, and most of them affect the OS rates in Port Angeles. However, you must have been aware, if you read the message board, that the deputy billet is changing to an 06 billet, and that 06 has been selected already, and is Captain Scott Pollock, who is right now Group Air Station CO. So he is going to be moving so that he can live with his wife, who's living here in Bellevue right now. So he gets to come over in Seattle and sit in the deputy's chair, and our deputy gets to go up to district and sit in the planning chair to keep us all well and good. Very consistent. Okay, so some of the other things is we'll be assuming the law enforcement mission for Group Port Angeles' AOR. Law enforcement mission, it's not like we don't know what's going on up there, but we'll be assuming the oversight of that mission set, and as well as the SAR mission set up in the northern border. So that means that we have to be a little bit more familiar, and response has got to be more familiar with those partners and collaborate with them prior to July. And we'll have to make sure that in order to be 100% confident in something, what do? You drill and exercise it, right? You make sure. You try and break it. If it doesn't break, we're 100% confident it might not break. Or at least we'll know what to do if it breaks. So you can expect drills and exercises for communications specifically and for command and control specifically. Next objective, complete 100% doctrine and policy review for Sector Puget Sound. Create essential doctrine and policy 30 days prior to formal stand-up. Why would I want it done before Sector Puget Sound stood up?
Policy in place.
So you read it and understand it. See, you're involved in this. You have to read something.